right, now when you are adding fractions, those bottoms have got to be the same. Now let me give you a quick example. How many of you like pizza? Okay? So let's say I have two different pizzas here. What's your favorite pizza, Nicole? Veggies? You sound like you like veggies. So let's say you have a veggie pizza. My son loves pepperoni. Okay? Now, he'll slice his pizza like this. He'll take like a whole half of a pizza. And I'm sure as dainty as Nicole is, she's going to slice hers up the regular way and maybe have, 2, 3 combos, right? So tell me, what fraction of the pizza does Stevie have? That's my son's name, Stevie. He has half. And what fraction of the pizza does Nicole have? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Isn't there normally 8 slices on the pizza? So how many did she take? So she has 3 out of 8. Now, I cannot add these up. I cannot ask a question like, how much pizza has been eaten? My major problem is Stevie's slice was huge compared to a slice that Nicole had. So it's like comparing apples and oranges. However, to get the whole amount of pizza eaten, what I could do is take these two fractions, get a common denominator, and raise them to equivalent fractions, and then I'll be able to add them. So what would my common denominator be for 8 and 2? It's also called the least common denominator, the LCM, which is your least common denominator. What would it be? What's the largest denominator there? No, what's the largest denominator? What? 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do multiples of 8 till I find one that meets both criteria. 8 times 1 is 8. Will 8 go into 8 evenly? Yes, Miss D. Will 2 go into 8 evenly? Yes, Miss D. And remember, when I'm talking about evenly, if I divide 2 into 8, it's 4. There's nothing left over. It goes in perfectly. When I say 8 goes into 8 evenly, it goes in one time. There's nothing left over. So when I say evenly, I mean there's nothing left over. So I'm going to set it up like I like to do it, which is like buttons on a shirt, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and use 8 as my common denominator, because I cannot do anything when I have a huge slice of pizza and a little tiny slice of pizza. I've got to figure out what's equivalent and have the same denominator. So we just said 2 times 4 gives me 8. So I'm going to raise this fraction by 4. Basically, 1/2 is equivalent to 4 out of 8. I can make 4 slices here, okay? That would be even. Okay, I'm not very good at drawing pictures, you guys. But I can make 4 slices there. Now over here, I already have 8. So I only need to multiply by 1 because 8 goes into 8 one time, right? We showed 8 goes into 8 one time. So the equivalent fraction for 3/8 is 3/8. Now I can add. And when you add and subtract fractions, the first thing you want to do is write down the common denominator. And in common, we have 8. Then you want to add the numerators. Do not add those denominators and make them 16. You're going to have a tendency to do that. That is not what we're doing. We're taking the parts of a whole. That's what a fraction is. So what is 3 plus 4? So they haven't eaten a whole pizza together, but almost. Okay? So in answer to how much pizza has totally been eaten by Nicole and Stevie, it's 7/8 of a pizza. There's 1/8 of a pizza that's still there, and believe me, Stevie's not going to fight over it because it's probably the vegetable. And he hates vegetables unless it's spinach. Okay? So it is very important that when you are adding and subtracting fractions, you have a common denominator. You've raised the fractions to a common denominator, and that common denominator, each denominator has to go into it, and it has to go into it evenly. Okay, so let's do a couple of problems. On page 1, the first problem is so easy because I have a whole number and a fraction. So when I add those together, it's just going to be the whole number and the fraction. Can you see it okay, Mohammed? Oh, you didn't have one, okay. Is it big enough for you guys to see? Focus it a little bit more. All right, now on the second one, are my denominators the same? Yes, so I need to write down the denominator. You need to write that common denominator down first. That is your whole, that's your total. And then, what's my numerators when I add 3 and 7? Now, remember, the instructions say be sure to reduce your answers. Can I leave my answer as 10 over 10? No. You cannot leave it as 10 over 10 because what is 10 over 10 equal to? 1 whole. You must reduce. If it says reduce, simplify, lowest terms, you need to do that and get in the habit of doing that for all of your operations. Okay, problem number 3. Do I have the same denominator? Can I add it? Can I add the fractions? Yeah. So I always, when I have mixed numbers, when I have whole numbers and fractions, I like to take care of the fraction first because sometimes the fraction can turn out to be a mixed number that I need to combine with the whole numbers. So I'm going to handle these fractions first. So what is 1 plus 2? 3, which is equal to what? 1. Now, how many whole numbers do I have? 2, right? So 2 plus 1 is how much? 3. That's your answer. Your fraction turned out to be 1 whole. And then you're going to add it to the total of the whole numbers, and you only have one other whole number, which is a 2. So 2 plus 1 is 3. That's your answer. Down here on the bottom, I also have whole numbers and fractions. The fractions do have the same denominator, so I'm going to just write my denominator and add the numerators. 1 plus 1 is 2. I know that's equal to 1. I have 8 plus 7 plus 1, which is 16. You guys do number 5 and tell me what answer you get. Anybody got it? What'd you get? 5 and 5/8. That's correct. Oh, question, Cynthia? Number 4? Sure. I had 2, so I put 2 down. And then I added 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 over 2 is equal to 1 when I simplify it. And then 8 plus 7 is 15, plus 1 will be 16. You have to include whatever the value of the fraction was that you saw first. Okay, where are you getting confused? You got it? Okay. much? 13? Okay, wait. Now, okay, how did you get your fraction, sweetheart? You wrote the 12 down, and you got 17. Can I leave my fraction like that? No. And see, this is the problem that you have. What mixed number is this? How many times will 12 go into 17? One time, right? But I'm going to have 5 left over. So this is really the fraction part of this problem is 1 and 5/12. Now I have to take this 1 and 5/12 and add it to the total whole numbers. I have 4 and 9. So 4 and 9 gives me 14. You see where the 14 is? 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 4 is 14 whole numbers, and I have 5/12. You have to remember to take that improper fraction and make it a mixed number. And I know you struggle with that sometimes. On number 6, I ignored the whole numbers first. Okay, actually, let me just do it again from scratch here. I ignored it because I like to handle the fraction first. Okay? So the first thing you're going to do is write down 12 because 12 is the common denominator there. And then what is 11 plus 6? 17. 11 plus 6 is 17, right? Then I need to divide 12 into 17 because this is improper. I need to make it a mixed number. And it because isn't 17/12 an improper fraction? Anytime you are told to reduce lowest terms, that 5/8, because you don't need to. You have a proper fraction. You need to go back to the definitions of your fractions. When the numerator is smaller than the denominator, I have a proper fraction. And wait, listen, and there is no other factor but 1 that will go into both 5 and 8. 1, you're done. This means draw that stop sign. You don't reduce anymore because only 1 can go into 5 and 8. This is how you know you're done. You can't reduce anything. It's a proper fraction, and I can't reduce. Can't do anything to that fraction. And then I just add the whole numbers. Okay? Now, in this case, you have an improper fraction. 17/12. The numerator is bigger. If that numerator is equal to the denominator or bigger, it's improper. And you must simplify it and reduce it down. That's why you had to do it. Okay? So when we do that, we get 1 with 5 left over. So I get 1 and 5/12, right? So how much is my whole number? I have 4 plus 9 plus 1 and 5/12. When I add these together, 4 plus 9 is 13, plus 1 more gives you 14 and 5/12. So how do I know that I'm done? This is my answer. How do I know that's my answer and I'm done and I can draw my stop sign? What kind of fraction is this? 5/12 is what kind of fraction? Proper. The top is smaller than the bottom. It's a proper fraction. The next thing I check is, Can 5 and 12 be reduced by the same factor other than 1? No. The only one that fits is 1, which will still give me 5/12. So I'm done. You have to realize when you're finished reducing your fraction. The only factor that's going to go into both 5 and 12 is 1. So I know I'm done. I can draw my stop sign and I'm done. Okay, let's do some more. You guys will get the hang of it. Now, I have this little page here. Remember when I went over to the side on the pizza and I showed you how to get the least common denominator? I want you to practice that because you're going to have to do something to figure out a common denominator and raise your fractions. And you want to get the least common denominator because then you do less reducing. Believe me. Yes, you can multiply and get any kind of common denominator, but if you get the least common denominator, you won't have to do so much reducing. So this page, you just practice, what is my least common denominator? Your least common denominator is your least common multiple. So let me show you how to get a least common multiple. In problem number 1, what is the largest denominator? 9. The first multiple of any number is 1. So 9 times 1 is 9. 9 goes into 9. Does 4 go into 9 evenly? No. So I can't use 9. 9 times 2 is 18. That's the second multiple. 9 goes into 18 and 3 goes into 18, but will 4 go into 18? No. Keep going. 9 times 3 is 27. I know 4 won't go into 27 evenly either. However, 9 times 4 equals 36. And 4 goes into 36, 9 goes into 36, and 3 goes into 36. So guess what my LCD is? If my LCM is 36, my LCD is 36. Now, what some students might do is they might multiply 3 times 9 times 4 and get a least common denominator. And you can do that, but once you finish, you're still going to have to divide by 3 because the 3 is extra. You didn't need that extra 3. Okay? Problem number 2. 16 is the largest. When I do the first multiple of 16, I get 16. 16 goes into 16 evenly. What about 8? 8 goes into 16 evenly. What about 4? 4 goes into 16. Hey, I'm done. I don't have to do no more. Just the first multiple. Okay? Number 3, I have 15 times 1. My problem with 15 is, will 2 go into 15? That's my problem. So I got to go to the second multiple. But 15 goes into 30, 2 goes into 30, and 10 goes into 30. So what's my LCD if my LCM is 30? 30. Your LCD, or your least common denominator, is going to be your least common multiple out of the numbers. And there's a reason why I'm telling you these definitions, because if you take your AccuPlacer test, they will be doing some questions on LCM and LCD, okay? Who can tell me what number 4 will be? 32. Because 32 times 1 equals 32. I know 32 goes into 32. I know 8 goes into 32. And I know 16 goes into 32, right? So I'm done with 32. So I know that this may be foreign or new to you because you're probably used to just getting any old common denominator. So I'd like you guys to take a moment. I gave you another example here on problem 2 on page 3. Problem 2, page 3. Actually, I'd like you to get the LCM and the LCD. And once you get that LCD, raise the fractions, because that's what you have to do when you're adding and subtracting fractions that have different denominators. Okay, so who can tell me what the LCM is for 4, 2, and 8? 8. So if my LCM is 8, then my LCD is going to be 8. Now, your job is to raise the fractions. You have 3 over 4, 1 over 2, 7 over 8. You have to raise this by 2 to get 8. You have to raise this by 4 to get 8. And you have to raise this by just 1 to get 8. This will be the same thing. And 1 times 4 is 4. So my new equivalent fraction for 1/2 is 4 over 8. And then my equivalent fraction for 3/4 is going to be 6 over 8. I don't want you to add them. All I want you to do is the steps of finding the LCM, using it as the LCD, and raising the fractions, because that's what you have to do. That's what these steps are. What is the LCM for number 3? We have 7, 21, and 3. So which one is the largest number? And will 7 and 3 go into 21? So that's my LCD and my LCM. So I'm going to take 5 over 7, 21 over 20, 20 over 21 and 2/3. And I'm going to raise all of them to 21 because 21 is my least common denominator. Now, to get my equivalent fractions for each of the fractions, this one I have to multiply by 7 to get 21. So what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And my new equivalent fraction is 14 over 21. Here I already have 21, so I'm just going to multiply by 1 and keep the 20 over 21. But on the top, I have to multiply by 3 to raise this fraction to 15 over 21 to get it equivalent. So if I were to add it, I would just add all of these that have the 21s because they're equivalent to the original fractions. You make sure that whatever you multiply the bottom by, you multiply the top number by for each fraction. Okay? I'm going to leave 4, 5, and 6 for you to do because I want to do a couple of problems before you guys leave me. I got about 15 minutes here. So let's put it all together. Let's put the steps all together now. Problem number 4. What is my LCM on problem number 1, page 4? What's my LCM? You're going to start with 10, but 10's not it. 10 times 1 is 10. 2 goes into 10, and 10 goes into 10, but 4 will not go into 10 evenly. So then I got to do 10 times 2 is 20. Will 4 go into 20? Will 2 go into 20? This is my LCD and LCM. So I'm going to raise this fraction, and this fraction, and this fraction to 20. Let's go ahead and do it. We're going to add all these together. So to get 20 for each of these, 4 times what gives me 20? So I multiply by 5 to get 20. I have to multiply by 5 on the top to get 15 over 20, equivalent to 3/4. Now, 2 times what gives me 20? 10. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top of the fraction to get the equivalent fraction. 1/2 equivalent fraction is 10 over 20. And what about 7/10? I'm going to multiply by 2 to get 20. So this becomes 14 over 20 for the equivalent fraction of 7/10. Now, I'm going to write down 20 because 20 is what those equivalent fractions have in common for their denominator. Write it down. Otherwise, your brain is going to be trying to say, oh, 20 plus 20 plus 20 is 60, and that is totally wrong. Your whole here is 20. All right? Now, what is it in the numerator? I get 15 plus 10 plus 14. What is that going to be? 39. What kind of fraction is 39? It's improper, so you need to divide. 20 goes into 39 how many times without going over? One time. How much is left over? So I get 1 and 19 over 20. Now, can I draw my stop sign? Why? Why can I draw my stop sign now? The only factor that will go into both 19 and 20 evenly is 1. And when it's 1, you're done. Don't forget that. Because I tell you, I have so many students that keep going. I'm going, how can you reduce that? You can't reduce it. So you need to know when to stop, okay? And what I'm telling you is when the only factor that will go into the numerator and denominator is 1, you're done. Circle that, okay? So let's put that answer down. Now on this page, instead of me picking, is there one that you'd like me to do as an example so you guys can do this for homework and we go over the answers tomorrow? Is there one, do you like that one with the 3s? There's a couple with 3 in it. And which one do you want to do as an example so that you can work this when you go home? Actually, you should do the other ones because that's part of your test. Try to get caught up as much as you can. The problem is with adding and subtracting, there's more steps and more rules. That's why I left them for the end, okay? Because we are almost done with this unit, okay? We got these 2 lessons and we're done. So yes, I do want you to get them done because you guys, I only have a little over, with Thanksgiving coming, I only have a little over 4 weeks, and we have got to get through ratios and proportions so that you can earn at least 1 credit, okay? That's why I'm pushing, okay? All right? So I have a method to my madness. There's not another example you want me to do? You think you got it? Number 5, okay. On number 5, what is my, let me move it over here. On number 5, what is my LCD? It's going to be 18 on this one because I have to take 9 times 2 in order to get my LCM and my LCD. And by the way, I know this one's by 2. 2 times what gives me 18? 9. Okay, now that I have raised the fractions to 18, which would be equivalent to the original fractions that were there, I'm going to have 18 for my denominator. But what is the numerator going to be? What's 8? I'm seeing my brain's already doing it. What's 8 plus 9? What's 8 plus 9, you guys? Yeah, my brain's already wanting to say 17, making my mouth say 17. Okay, and then what would our whole number be? Why didn't I reduce 17 over 18? Because the only factor that will go into both of them evenly is 1. So I know that I'm done, right? And then I just added the whole numbers. So I knew I could stop with 17 over 18. There's no other factor that goes into them that will reduce them. And just to get you started on number 6, what's my LCD going to be on number 6? 30. So I'm just going to put that there. You guys are going to raise everything to 30, add the fractions together, simplify the fraction if you need to, and then add it to the total or the sum of the whole numbers, okay? Please finish this tonight. So if you have any questions, we can get those questions out of the way for tomorrow. And if I have time today, I will go ahead and do the PowerPoint lecture and load it as an announcement, okay? I'll try to have some time to do that today. Any other questions, general questions? Oh, you need help with the algebra? Okay, hold on. Let me stop this video and, all right, bring your questions tomorrow, you guys. Well, okay, let's go through the process that I just taught you. What's the largest denominator? What's the largest one here? So 15 times 1 is 15. That works for 15, but it doesn't work for 6, and it doesn't work for 10. 10 will not go into 15 evenly, and 6 will not go into 15 evenly. So 15 times 2 is the second multiple, which is 30. 15 goes into 30, 10 goes into 30, and 6 goes into 30 evenly, nothing left over. So 30 is going to be my LCD. You're going to raise everything to 30. You have to do that before you can add and subtract. Okay? So you're going to be using 30 here. And then raising the fraction. This one will be raised by 5. This will be raised by 3. And this will be raised by 2. And then you go ahead and raise the fractions, add them, reduce it, and then add the whole numbers in to get the answer, okay? So try it. Try it and then let me see what your answer is before you leave, okay? All right, I'll be right over there, Van. Hold on, let me stop my recording here.